parts are a bit sick. You're right on the money, baby.
And that's within 20 pounds?
That thing does 20-pound increments.
What's going on, everybody? Today I'm processing up this copper wire I got for a great price at an auction. I tried to sell this originally on Facebook Marketplace for a week or two, thinking that maybe an electrician or somebody would buy it and pay me more than scrap value. But unfortunately, like Facebook Marketplace always is, a ton of people were just hitting me up, lowballing me, giving me below scrap value price for it. So I decided to say forget it, cut it up, and scrap it myself. And I didn't really have an area long enough to strip these out into long, really large pieces, so I decided to split them up into really small pieces like this. If I'd had a bigger, quicker, more powerful stripper, I'd have probably done it all in bigger pieces. But as you can see, I just kind of cut it up into smaller ones just like this. And like it says in the title, I ended up using a Stripmeister to get this stuff stripped out. And then I used a Milwaukee with a 5.0 battery. The battery ended up lasting the entire time, which was awesome. And I ended up getting it done in a decent amount of time, really. And since this wire had such a big thickness, I had to go all the way up to the largest hole on it. So I had to hit some of it with a hammer just to get it to make sure it went in. But once it eventually went in, it worked out pretty well and didn't give me too many hiccups. But I did have a few hiccups along the way, and I highlight those in the video and explain them to you guys.
I've already had it on. Got it. Alright. Time to really get moving now.
So here I am getting started out. As you can see, the first couple pieces went in nice and smooth. But then eventually, as you can see with that yellow piece, the pieces would be kind of kinked, and they were so thick that I couldn't really use my hands to straighten them out. But what you could do to combat that was just have your clippers right there beside you, clip them off, and you can kind of get them to go in. Another problem that I also ran into was the coating on this stuff would get it clogged up, and that is probably the main thing that I ran into. As you can see in a lot of these sections here on the time lapse, I was having to lift and tighten up my tensioner on the top or use a punch and hammer to be able to get them to go all the way through. So I slowed it down here and wanted to show you guys how you could just finagle it in there. It would take a little bit of time, but if you get it tension right, I mean, you could get the piece to go through if it was straight and the coating wasn't that bad. But the coating wasn't perfect on this piece, and I'll show you that in here in a few seconds.
Alright, here, come here.
So I guess this wire was old, or I don't know, that stuff had been dry rotted or was really hard, but it would just flake off like this, and it would just make it almost impossible to get through. So you had to run it forward, run it back, run it forward, run it back, peel some off, or just eventually cut it. But I eventually did get it done. This is just the part here that I just wanted to highlight and show you guys why it took a lot longer to get this done and why the pieces aren't just flying out the end of the stripper. Prior to getting all this wire, the only stuff that I'd really stripped with the Stripmeister was Romex wire, and it done great on that. It spit every piece out wonderfully and never got clogged. However, whenever you do this larger stuff, it's just more susceptible to get clogged up, and you honestly need a bigger stripper to get this stuff done. But I didn't have that, and it got the job done. It just took a lot longer. The hammer and the little chisel were a saving grace on this part and really made this piece to be able to come out of the stripper. And I use it on a lot of other pieces as well. If you are going to strip large wire with this Stripmeister that I have, then I would suggest, as you can see here, I have a longer piece. What took longer also is I showed you putting the piece into the actual stripper because the hole wasn't quite big enough. But if you can only do that a couple times since your pieces are longer, then it makes the process go quicker. And I wish I'd have known this in the beginning of the video because I ended up cutting a lot of the pieces too small, but oh well. And here I am highlighting just what I said. If you can get the piece to be longer and the coating to not be too frayed to where it won't go through the machine, it'll actually work out pretty good and you don't have to worry about loading up so many times. Works a lot quicker.
Yes.
However, when it was all said and done, the Stripmeister did put a nice splice on all the pieces and made the copper extraction process a lot easier than just doing it by hand. Another thing that would have made it faster is you can see I'm just putting it in this big vise. I should have had it mounted to a table or some board or something. It would have made it a lot easier because the Stripmeister was wanting to kind of move around on that vise. To get it bolted down, that would have also made the process a lot better. Peeling off the coating is always my favorite step in the wire stripping process. Seeing that pile of shiny copper get bigger and bigger is always the most satisfying feeling when you've put in so much hard work to get to that point. And then after about an hour or two of cutting, stripping, and peeling, here's what I came up with. I didn't end up stripping the green grinding wire because I'll probably be able to use that for something down the road at some point. So with that out of the picture, I'd say I have at least 300 pounds of clean, shiny, bare bright copper, ready for my next haul to the junkyard. If you ended up enjoying this video, give it a like and of course subscribe to the channel. And as always, have a good one, guys.